Thank you so much, everybody, for your patience for making it out here. We're here with Steve Neill, who is lives here in Ventura County, but he's had a long history in Hollywood. So I'm just gonna open up the space for Steve to share a little bit. Yeah, Steve, thank you for making it out to the mystery shop.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Yeah, so start telling us a little bit. First of all, Elliot is like the biggest Ghostbusters fan. As you can see, he brought his whole gear.
I've met a lot of biggest Ghostbusters fans. It's amazing. It's amazing to me. Yeah.
So how was that experience? Let's start with that one.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Let's see. I remember it in a lot of detail. I remember the night that I got called about it, and then I went down and I met Howard Ziff and interviewed with him. And you never know if you're going to get hired or not. I did so many of those interviews for jobs, and a lot of times I did get them, but I left, didn't hear anything for a few days, and
Right.
I found a message on my answering machine. Back in those days we had answering machines, and I played it, and it's this is Howard Ziff, and I've got some good news for you and some bad news. And the bad news is, I forget how he put it. He says, the good news, you've got the job. The bad news is you have to start tomorrow. It was
Oh,
yeah, something like that.
Channel, get on it.
Yeah, so I was real happy about that. I there was another film going on at Boss Films that I wanted to work on a lot more, and that was 2010.
Yes, you mentioned that.
My whole film career as a filmmaker, especially, is a result of seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey at 16 years old, going to the Golden Gate Cinerama in San Francisco by myself, took a bus there, and sat there and watched it twice in a row and came home with a headache. And then I knew that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go into astronomy or science. I wanted to make film. And so I learned everything I could learn about Stanley Kubrick and fell in love with Stanley and fell in love with his films, and that really kicked it off. So the fact that 2010 was there, I wanted to work on that.
Yeah,
I was in horror to hear Peter Hyams say that the Discovery was a horrible design, stupid, nobody would want to see that ship again. And of course, he came under a lot of adversity from that and didn't get his way. He wanted to change the Discovery.
Yeah.
So I ended up working on Ghostbusters.
And the other thing you had mentioned earlier, and then I had heard of this also, is they didn't think Ghostbuster was going to be the hit that it became. So
No, I was humoring it. It was a good job. The people were great to work for. Harold Ramis, the whole cast, Sigourney Weaver, Ivan Reitman, Boss Films, Richard Edlund, they were great to work for. So I was very lucky. We were paid well. It was a big film, but I just really didn't think it would be.
the mixture of comedy and super.
I just
the scary stuff.
I would rather worked on a very serious film about the paranormal, but this was not that.
What elements did they have you do?
Well, the first thing I did was they wanted me to sculpt puppets for the jail. There was a jail ghost, and you remember when they put the trap in. I don't remember in the film. I've seen it several times, and I don't think do they ever look in the glass to see what's in there? I don't think they did. But originally they were going to have that, and so I did some sculptures of these strange-looking ghosts, and then they decided not to do that. So then they gave me the project of working on the hands for that. So I had to coordinate with the guy that built the chairs. We had to cast my arm, and I sculpted 3 different hands. And one of them had suction cups on it and a pentagram in the palm, and then they decided not to use that one at the last second for some reason. And I have pictures of it. And they didn't want to use that, so they had me take the hand that I used to grab her in the face, since I was the lead puppeteer for that whole sequence, and take the claws off of it, paint it a different color, and put a bunch of hair on it. So that gray hand is the same one as the one I'm grabbing her in the face with, and the other hand had just the 2 big claws. So I did that, and that took a long time to do. I mean, I think we spent like 4 days shooting that sequence.
Yeah.
Because we had 2 or 3 different chairs. Then we had the open chair that was on the dolly. So you see that classic picture of me sitting there with my hand up over her face, sitting on the side of the chair on a dolly that they pulled. And that was for that scene where the camera's straight on to Sigourney, the hands are on her face, and she's heading towards the refrigerator where the door is, or the wall, I can't remember which. And so that took quite a while to shoot, and it was a great shoot. I mean, I remember being stuffed down inside the oversized arms. If you look when you watch the films, you can see that when the arms are busting out, the arms were all pre-treated. The panels were removable, and we were down inside the chair. And so, we did it several times, and Ivan kept saying, this is not working for me. And then I said, what? He said, well, the whole thing's great, but I just don't feel that you're really hitting her in the face, full strength. And Sigourney says to me, yeah, you need to really do it. And I said, these are acrylic nails on this hand. I could bruise you really bad or poke out an eye. She said, don't worry about it. I'll be fine. And then Ivan leans over to me, looking down at me in the chair. He says, go ahead and do it. She likes it. It's like, okay.
She learned a lot from the movie Aliens.
I was so hesitant, to do it, but I did it. So when you see that hand come busting out of there and her whole head jerks back, I did it for real. And she was black and blue the next day.
Shout outs to Sigourney,
marks on her, and they put makeup on him to cover him up. And I was so sorry, and she just laughed and said, no, you're fine, gave me a hug, and it was that.
I want to work with Sigourney. You guys want to work with Sigourney?
So I did that sequence, and after we're done with that sequence, they put me on the Terror Dog. And Randy Cook was heading up the sculptural department on that with Linda and Mike Hosh.
The Terror Dog or the two?
The Terror Dog.
Heck
and we all sculpted the big one.
Wow.
And Mike Hosh and Linda, I'm drawing a blank on her last name, blocked it out, and then it took days to sculpt it because it was huge.
Yeah.
And it was full size, and then I came in and did my work on it and detailing, and then Rob Berman made the molds on it. Actually, no, Gunnar made the molds on it, and Rob ran the foam. Huge foam latex pieces for that thing.
So those are kind of functioning puppets.
Yeah, well, you wore it,
right?
Yeah, and
then someone else did the animatronics.
Well, there's a fiberglass. There were no animatronics. Okay. There was a fiberglass underskull and cables running to areas of the underskull that were cut out in order to make the cables be able to move the foam, to snarl the lips, to move the brows, and do all that. And so it was all done with these. I still have one of the controllers at the studio, cool. Don't I, Mary? From the Ghostbusters that we used, and and that's how that was done. And at one point, I'm in the Terror Dog suit because I'm a SAG actor, and so I did a lot of creature work and stuff because I get hired to work on a lot of B films because I could play the alien and make the alien.
Yes.
So on Ghostbusters, I did some of that as well.
Oh, cool.
So when he says, "Hey, doggy, do you want a milk bone?" That was me rising up in the Terror Dog. So. I worked on, with Billy Bryan, I worked on a little bit the Stay Puft. Did the underskulls for that and some of the mechanics to make the face move. They kept me pretty busy. And then, of course, I worked on set. I puppeteered with the hands. I puppeteered with the Terror Dog. And then they put me in charge of all the puppeteers that were under the stage, controlling the movements of the Terror Dog and the puppeteering in it. And that was fun because I had to stand right there with Ivan, and he would tell me what he wanted, and I had a headset on and a mic, and I would communicate to the puppeteers down below. So that kept me busy for a really long time. Then from there, I went on to Fright Night. So.
Fright Night, bro! I love that movie. Tell us how did you help develop those characters? The work that you did with that, the special effects.
Well, there were a number of us working on it, but originally I was brought in by Tom Holland, the director. Yeah. Because he liked my work and he liked me. We got along. I mean, I was being friendly with him before I knew he was the director, and so I got invited to this meeting where big decisions were made about who was going to head up the makeup department. He wanted me. And so I ended up doing a lot of the prosthetics and stuff. Randy Cook did some of them, and Steve Johnson did some of the other stuff because we were all Boss Films employees at that time. And so that's how that worked out. And I did Evil Ed's makeup.
Yeah.
At the beginning and the whole gag with the cross was mine. I did a bunch of Chris Sarandon's stages. The whole pencil gag was one of mine. So that was fun to work on. I'd worked with Roddy McDowall the first time on Laser Blast.
Right.
And then I worked on 6 other movies with him. We got so we knew each other, became friendly, and we'd sit around on the set talking about films because I was a film collector, and so was he.
So we were talking about earlier some of your first work, which was a lot of folks got excited that you worked on Planet of the Apes, the TV show.
Yeah, I was basically just joined the union, and they were out of makeup artists to work, so that's when they could call on the backup people that weren't fully in the union. You were paying the big money to be in the union, but they only let you work if all the people on Group 1 list were employed, and that was the case, and I was able to go in there and work for a few days. Those few days were really significant because I was a huge Planet of the Apes fan. I mean, that's practically the reason that I saw 2001 and Planet of the Apes like back to back, and I really wondered how did they do that makeup, and I made it my mission to find out how, and I did. And there was no internet back then, but I did figure it out, and I did recreations of them that were pretty good. And I came to LA, and people knew I did them, and that got me hired on that. But just to be there to put makeup on. I wasn't hired to sculpt or do any of that. That's what I really wanted to do. But it was so cool that first morning. There's this trailer called the long trailer that they had used on all the Planet of the Apes movies. It's this real long trailer. It's like a outside building that they call it a trailer, and it had all these makeup barber chairs in it, old-fashioned barber chairs, like a whole row of them.
That'd be a cool
So
picture.
I go in there in the morning, and there's John Chambers coming in, who's the creator of Planet of the Apes. Tom Berman wasn't around on that. I don't know where he was because he was the other creator of the makeup. And John came in, as usual, big boisterous self, and hey man, let's get to work, and all that stuff. And Frank Griffin was there, and Werner Kepler, and all the greats that contributed to the first Planet of the Apes movies, and worked on all of them. And then in came Roddy McDowall in his bathrobe. And he was so charming, and I was so amazed. I was more impressed meeting him than anyone because I grew up watching his movies, and I just loved the guy. And so I got to meet him, and I got to work for a few days on that, and that was my start. It was really magical.
Yeah. Talking about Laser Blast, that was like one of the first projects that I seen of yours. It was your first big project.
Yeah, it was. The first big movie or biggish movie I worked on was a movie with Christopher Walken and Margot Kidder that was a Western, and we spent a few months out in New Mexico shooting that film. And then when it came back, that led to meeting Charles Band. Actually, I did The Crater Lake Monster. And I made this giant dinosaur head in my kitchen in Toluca Lake in the kitchen, which I had to make a mold of and then take all the clay out of it, and I couldn't get it out of the building, so I had to put it through the window, and that
You gotta do what you gotta do.
That ended up being used in History of the World. It's the big dinosaur head that comes out and gets the guys in the beginning. I don't know how that happened, but somehow after the movie was made, they ended up selling that to Mel Brooks. And it was used in that film. But that really got me started. Rick Baker was instrumental in referring me to work because he lived very close by, and we became friends, and he only lived a few blocks away. And Bill Stromberg was doing The Crater Lake Monster, which started off as a Bigfoot movie, and I was really excited about that because I wanted to do apes. But then it became The Crater Lake Monster. And that led to me meeting Charlie somehow. I know I met Dave Allen because of that movie and Randy Cook, but I met Charlie, and Charlie asked me to do Laser Blast, and I brought in Randy Cook and Dave Allen to do stop motion on that.
And so you've also been, we were talking about earlier that there's just the formats have been changing. The way you've been doing special effects has been changing, moving on to CGI and now even some AI stuff. But you're finding ways where you're still saying, hey, there's still original things to be made, and it's easier to sometimes use some of these elements.
Well, yeah, I mean, what happened after working for Charlie Mann and everything is the next thing that happened for me was I met Gene Roddenberry. I went to work on Star Trek The Motion Picture. I did Spock's Ears and a bunch of other stuff. That was a hallmark because I'm a huge Trek fan, original Trek fan. But
Spock's Ears, you say?
Yeah.
So how was it? How was it? How was that interaction?
Well, it's like Nimoy's character was my favorite character, and I saw it when it first aired in 1966. I always wondered what it'd be like to go to Hollywood and be on those sets and work with Gene Roddenberry and all that, and it happened. And Fred Phillips, who was a makeup artist on Outer Limits and on Star Trek, brought me in and asked me, set down a pair of the ears that John Chambers did, and he said, I want you to replicate these exactly. Is that something you think you can do? And I was like, in heaven. So, and I did those, and I met Nimoy, and I worked at the studio every day for a long, long time.
Was Nimoy as cool as we all think
he is? He was a cool character, yeah. He was very, he stood over me. That's how I met him. It was a shadow over my work. I was working late, and he said, are those my ears? And I looked up, and there he was, and gave me a big smile and said, those are beautiful. And where's Fred? And I said, Fred's in the other room, and he went in to see Fred. And then I would see Nimoy a number of times during the filming. I don't know. I called him Mr. Nimoy, and the funny thing is, I never asked any of those guys for an autograph or a picture or anything because we just didn't do that back in those days. And he was kind of scary, because he was kind of like Mr. Spock, and I didn't joke with him or anything. Shatner joked with me, but Shatner was happy with me because his wife at the time got hired on my film I did with Charlie Mann called The Day Time Ended. They had Dorothy Malone in it and Jim Davis, and I wrote the story and we produced it. And when we worked on all the visual effects of Dave Allen and Jim Danforth, Randy Cook, Phil Tippett, John Berg, all these great people worked on that film, and that was amazing to do that. But like you said, things changed, and as things progressed, when it got into the 90s, we had the big era in the 80s of the makeup effects rock stars, as they call us, because we all had long hair and we dressed like rock and rollers, and we had wild parties and all that stuff. And then it started to fade in the 90s because CGI came out.
Yeah. And
most of the makeup artists at that time were resistant to the change, the same way it's going on right now. But I thought it was great, because I always had this fantasy that one day filmmaking would be put in a box, and one artist could sit down with this magic box and create a film right out of your head.
Yeah.
And so it started with Lightwave for me in the early 90s, and I got work with it right away because there weren't a lot of people doing it.
And for those that don't know, Lightwave was a CGI program.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, there was Lightwave, there was Maya, and there was 3D Studio Max at that time, and they were all competing. And every producer I went to work for said that if you're not working with 3D Studio Max, you're not for me. If you're not working with Maya, you're not for me. If you're not working with Lightwave, you're not for me. It was like the Mac versus PC. None of it mattered. They all did the same thing, but these producers didn't know anything, and so the people they knew would tell them that that particular software is the only software. Anything else is no good. So I had to fight through that, but a lot of the studios did use Lightwave.
Yeah,
and especially the History Channel. I worked for them on a show called the UFO Files. Before it went CG, I was working for Fox on the sightings television show, and there
Yeah.
were several other paranormal shows back at that time, and I was still doing practical aliens and puppeteering them because CG wasn't right there yet, and they weren't comfortable with it. But by 2000, that was over. And if you didn't do CGI, then chances are a lot of people back then were not using practical because they thought CG was the answer to everything, and it wasn't.
No, it was.
It wasn't.
Was it a blend?
But it was a fad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until later on, we're getting around 2010 or so, directors were getting smart. They were off the fad, and they were saying, I need a big model of the spaceship. CG isn't going to cut it for me. I want to shoot those elements with a full size, with a big model, and then composite it using the computer and using the software. And that was a smart way to do things. And so now at this point, we're using CGI and software where it's needed, and if we can get it into the camera, it's still the best way to do it. And I'm glad to see that a lot of the young filmmakers have that sense.
Going back to the 80s and some of the work you still did when you were doing practical puppet or persona characters, there was an ad I saw where you did it with a bunch of aliens. It was like a Miller Lite ad.
Yeah, I did that one, and I played Blorg.
Yeah.
Because I was an actor, and so I did that, and that's the one that Tommy Lasorda was in.
I saw one of the actors in there.
Yeah, he was
or
great.
what are the what's it called, jocks?
Yeah.
And then I saw another one where
Worlds
you
of
did
Wonder.
it, and then the other one was Mac Tonight.
Yeah, I did that, but
He did
before any of that.
Moonhead.
Before any of that was a commercial for the Pamela Talking Doll by Worlds of Wonder.
Nice.
And that's a real significant one because I had to do 3 gray type aliens. And they were in suits, and they were foam rubber heads with fiberglass underskulls. They could not be taken out. They had to eat their lunch through a straw. And the radio-controlled facial expressions and eye movements and eye blinks were all done that way. But one of the people that was playing the lead alien was someone who would go on to an incredible career playing aliens and creatures, Doug Jones.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's where he got his start. And I had to correct him on that because he was on a podcast, and I heard him, and I called him up, and I said, Dougie, that's not the one. It's you did. And then after that, I mean, you heard the podcast, Mary, where he did say, yes, it was the Worlds of Wonder. That's when it got him start, because when Mac Tonight came along, and I was contacted to sculpt and make the big moonhead, they said, who are we going to get to wear this thing? It's going to be hot. It's going to be heavy. I said, I know, just the guy. And he's really skinny and all this stuff. And and that launched his career. I couldn't be happier about that because he was a wonderful, sweet human being.
That's what I hear.
And he ended up doing Suru on Star Trek. And I mean, what a career.
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water.
Hellboy, right?
Hellboy.
The Guillermo del Toro film.
Yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth, yeah. And a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, what was it? Was it Dark Skies? Was the alien one where they invaded Earth? And he was in that. It just goes on and on and on.
And he lives here in Thousand Oaks, I think.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to have him over, say hi.
Yeah, and he'll do it too when he's in town.
We had Steve Neill here. You have to come.
So anyway, that was really cool, And eventually, I worked on those commercials for about 7 years, and it got down to where we just had one puppeteer in the end, and that was me, and he was all radio controlled, the entire face. Bob Burns and my late wife were not.
You guys
used.
made good money on those, right?
Yeah.
I always hear commercials make a lot more than even movies.
Doug, as he told me, he bought his first house off that. So we did very well from that, and then as it wound down and the Bobby Darin suit happened over the Three Penny Opera song, they tried to
sue him for the song?
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
It's Mac Tonight.
Yeah. They switched to CGI on it, and they were horrible, and then the whole thing died because CG wasn't there yet. It really wasn't, and they looked terrible. It really did. So, and that just died away, and that was the end of Mac Tonight. Carl has the molds.
Does he?
I gave them to him. Yeah.
There it is. We have access to him. Carl. Shout outs to Carl Soto, because it was Carl Soto from Soto Designs that invited us
our dear friend.
Yeah, to meet Steve Neill. So I just wanted to say thank you to him.
And his wife Kendra.
Who were here the other day working on a music video for the Crystal Tears.
Yep.
Which is coming out soon.
Carl was great. When the first time he came over to our studio, he kind of had an attitude. It was funny, and it's like we're trying to get interns to work there, and because in exchange we were teaching him the craft.
Right.
And we did, and we had a lot of them there. And Carl was like, "Well, how much are you going to get paid?" But we stayed in touch with him, and we became really close to him, and helped him every time we could. And he was always helping us. He's a terrific guy.
So we're talking about, we'll go into the little hardships of the business, because I know that, you were mentioning sometimes, and this happens all the time, and I'm only saying this because, we have to talk about the hardships of the crew, and sometimes the crew doesn't get all the respect they should. I don't know how you want to talk about that, but it'd be good to talk about it in a way for folks to be like, hey, if you're working on a job, make sure I don't know. You tell us how you're supposed to behave on set, and how much BS do you have to take?
A lot. It depends on the producer and the director, the film company. It really does. And when I worked with Roger Corman, he's got this sort of high thing about him, and he's a little intimidating, but he was a really nice man, and he gave me all the rope I needed to hang myself with. Yeah. Except for one thing, and that was when we were doing the movie, what was that name of that film? The director was up talking about us the other day. Oh, God. Mutant.
Mutant.
You ever seen it?
Is that the one where they're out in outer space and there's a lot of bikini scenes?
It was Roger's answer to Alien.
Dude, I love that movie.
Yeah, it was. And Alan Holtzman was the director.
Yeah,
wonderful human being, and
it had multiple names too. The
movie. It did. Originally, it was called Mutant.
Mutant,
and then it went to the one we just said. And that one. Yeah, that one. And that film's still popular. And
no, I have it on DVD.
I did so much work. And John Buechler.
Dude, to tell you the truth, my dad took me to see that movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was like a little kid.
Yeah. That must have been scary.
No, it was wild.
Yeah, it was really...
Mutant,
yeah. And it was grueling to work on with long hours.
It wasn't Forbidden Planet.
Forbidden Planet was a different. Forbidden World was another one.
Oh, Forbidden World. It wasn't Forbidden.
I didn't work on Forbidden World. I don't think.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. I worked in Galaxy of Terror. Maybe it was Forbidden. I know I worked on Battle Beyond the Stars. That was the first one. Is it an iPhone? It'll be fine. Battle Beyond the Stars was the first one I did for.
But Mutant, tell me more about Mutant.
Well, on Mutant, we had to make this. It started off as an egg.
Yeah.
As you recount, and it's kind of clear, and there's things moving through it. I used silicone, clear silicone out of a tube. I sculpted the thing and made a plaster mold, and then used clear silicone, caulking silicone, which was self-curing, and I made it out of that, and it worked really well, and I had tubes going through it with blood and things, and so, and then it squirts out the little blobby thing, and that was foam rubber, and then it gets bigger, and we built that other thing, which I called the sack of testicles, with the big nasty teeth on it, which is, there's some funny stories there, but then I had to go to that big thing, so I'm in a meeting with Roger, and Roger's saying, so how are we going to do this, Steve? And I said, well, I know this really good animator named Dave Allen, and we can do a stop motion character of this, and that way we can, and he says, now, Steve, we all know that stop motion animation doesn't work. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And I said, and Bob and Denny Sokotak, who are famous for working with James Cameron, who we were all working together back on this film, were standing in the background, and James Cameron was there, and Bob and Denny Sokotak did all the effects for Terminator 2, and many of other of his films. And they're just looking at me like this. And I said, yeah, well, of course, Roger. I wasn't going to argue with him. So he says, what I need you to do is build me a big monster I can get in camera, because that's how I like to do things. Well, we all knew that about him, so we had to build a big monster.
Yeah.
And Bob Sokotak, he did the design work on it, and we just worked from his drawings, which were fabulous, and built this big giant thing.
Yeah.
And put it on a dolly and ran it down the hallway. That long hallway was the hallway at the studio, and they got all these McDonald's food trays and they glued them all on with hot glue and painted them gray and stuff. And that's how things were done back then. And yet it looks really good.
It's all you need.
Yeah. It's all the lighting and you know the action and everything. So that was a bloodbath, and John Buechler did all the gore on that. So there were two makeup people, and as a lot of you know, John passed away a few years ago. Sadly, he was a very nice man, and he was nice working with too. He was a real character, and he figured out ways with no money to really make some really graphic stuff, and it worked really well. So, and then I kept working for Roger, and then eventually that's when all the big studio stuff started to happen.
Yeah,
because I was well trained by that time, and so sometimes I get on a show and the director is a real jerk, and I just suck it up. Others didn't, and they either got fired or the director would make it hard for them. You know.
And that's part of the reality, though, right?
Yeah.
And then, it's part of being professional is putting up with it and actually just doing your craft.
They are paying you.
Tell us, yeah, right.
And you are going to get that check. All you have to do is what they want. Even if it seems stupid to you, it won't work, it might reflect on you later in your career, you either quit or you take the money. There's no in between. I was working on a film. The first AD can be one of the worst thorns in your ass of all the people in a crew.
That's their role.
And I ran into that many times. And one of them was on a movie I did with Oliver Reed. Mm-hmm. That was a fabulous experience. I really enjoyed working with him.
The
we
drinker.
became friends. We got along great. And he was used to having friends that had long hair and were rock and rollers. I mean, he hung out with the Who, you know.
Right.
So he's always telling me stories about him and Keith Moon going out and getting drunk and getting in brawls in the bars and stuff.
That's right.
And that's what he liked to do.
Oh, yeah,
He had a makeup on him that had eye contacts and teeth and nails and wig and all this stuff that I made for him.
Wait, what film is that?
Dr. Heckle.
That's the Dr. Jekyll.
Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hype.
I seen that. Have you guys seen that? It's off the wall.
It's directed by Chuck Griffith, who was the director of the original Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
And he and his wife were really cool to work with, but their AD sucked. And it was agreed that we had 4 hours to do his makeup. So the first day I'm in there, and we're about 2.5 hours in, and the AD comes in all full of himself. Okay, I need him on set. He's not done. Well, then slap some green on him and get him out here, you know. And it's like, well, you don't understand. I just haven't blended in the edges or anything yet. I've got a lot more to do. And he got nasty with me, and Oliver just looked at me, said, Steve, step aside. I step aside, and Oliver Reed gets out of the chair, and he walks over to him, and he grabs him by his shirt, and he's like lifting him up like this, and he says, he's an artist, leave him alone. And he threw him out the door backwards. The guy had the wind knocked out of him. He was right under the dirt. Oliver did not get in trouble for this. Oh, he's a star, right? You know?
Yeah.
I didn't get in trouble with this, and after that, the AD was an angel.
Yeah.
So sometimes it works out that way.
Oliver
but not
Reed,
always.
man.
Yeah, he was, oh, man. He took me out for my birthday, and we painted the town red
wow.
over and over again. I don't even know how I got
You
home
went
that
out
night.
for your birthday with Oliver Reed, bro.
He taught me boxing and gave me a black eye. It was amazing. It was amazing. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah. I remember. I heard that's how he passed away too. He was working on a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gladiator, and he went out drinking with some locals, and
He loved the locals. He didn't like to hang with the crew.
wow,
He would hang with the crew, but he wouldn't hang with the producers, the talent, very little, and the directors and stuff. He liked the people. So, in fact, there was one time we were in the trailer, and this rather heavy-set woman working on the film was walking by, and one of the people in there made a nasty comment about her weight. Oh, he went ballistic on the guy. Threw him out.
Yeah.
Said, you don't understand what it is to have a weight problem. It's not her fault, and you're just a nasty piece of crap, and get the hell out of here. And the guy was definitely frightened by it. But it tells you a little bit about the real Oliver Reed.
Right. Right.
He helped little old ladies across the street, literally. Mm-hmm. He bought a shirt off a guy in the elevator because his shirt was messy, and we were going to La Matage where he was staying, and they wouldn't let us in. And so he paid off everyone to get us in, and bought a shirt off the guy in the elevator. I'll never forget that. And the guy says, "You're Oliver Reed, aren't you?" "Yes, I am. Can I buy your shirt?" He said, "Yeah." And he took Oliver's shirt and ran off. So, things like that in your career are things you never forget.
That's where Javier Bardem got it for No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, right? That scene, like, it's so random.
Yeah. So, it sounds like something out of a Hollywood movie, but it was really something out of Hollywood.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned Oliver Reed. You mentioned Margot Kidder. Was she cool? People, I mean, other actors that you would like to mention that, you got to be around?
Margot was great.
Yeah,
this was before she started having her problems, which, she had mental illness, and it wasn't something that she could help. It's something that I've had a lot of friends, one in particular in high school who his dad had this form of mental illness. He was fine up to a certain age, and then it took him over too. And it just happens. And she was wonderful. She had just got off the set of Superman, which I loved. That's my favorite Superman of all time. Yeah. And to be this close to her.
To Lois Lane.
With her arms around me, freezing to death in her fur coat while we were trying to keep warm out in New Mexico because they were shooting at night was something I'll never forget.
Wow.
Yeah, she was something. Christopher Walken.
We're going to open it up for some questions. We'll make a round of questions. Phil, we have Phil Taggart here from Caps TV.
Yeah, we were talking before we started.
And we would like to go ahead and ask a question if you can, Phil, at this time.
I think I have a block.
You have a block?
I have a block now.
Well, you're a filmmaker and a teacher of filmmaking.
So I go back to, I was thinking about Ghostbuster. How much of improvising was going on there with those guys?
Well, I knew the script pretty well, and they really kept to it. But, yeah, there were some improv.
Yeah, because I was looking at that as compared to the one they did with the women.
Right.
And the women were just as competent as the men were.
That film's failure was the director.
Mm.
Yeah.
He went on the internet and accused people of hating the film because they were women, and he called them names and everything else. But what he didn't understand was he was remaking the original, and that's just a cardinal sin. You don't do that. And it had nothing to do with them being women. He should have just made it a continuance of the original, and now we have a woman crew.
Yeah,
but he didn't do that, and so.
Yeah, because I knew that I'd seen all of those women separately, and
it was sad for them.
It was.
Yeah, it was really a cruel thing to do. I think so. There's a way they could fix that, and that's to do another Ghostbusters movie with them, just as another Ghostbusters movie, and give them a chance to,
Actually do it.
Yeah, because the criticisms was terrible on that, and I don't think he's ever worked again.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure of that, but I haven't heard of it. So
Yeah, well, you can't. Anyone who could ruin Ghostbusters probably shouldn't be working.
I guess I don't know. Those guys. Dan Aykroyd was very nice. Bill Murray was very quiet. He'd say good morning. But Dan would walk over to you and say, "Hey, good morning, Steve. Well, what you got there?" And showing him the hands and stuff. He was
That
he
sounds
was
like diagnostic.
he was just a real person. And I'm not saying Bill wasn't too, but he was more. He held back a lot. He's quiet. At least he was around us on the set. So
Anyone else? Questions?
We have we have folks over here from the production of Church of Phil. We have Patrick and the director. If you guys could
I gotta see
here
this
for a
movie.
second. Yeah, go ahead.
I got a question.
Sure.
So I'm a big fan of The Stuff and also
Oh, yes.
and also Q, the Winged Serpent.
Yes.
Can you talk about having worked with Larry Cohen?
Larry Cohen.
And those movies as well, yes?
Okay. I met Larry Cohen through Rick Baker. And Rick was starting to get some bigger stuff. And so he was sending people he couldn't work for because he was doing bigger films over to me, which was really kind of him. And the first one was Larry Cohen. And it was to work on a film called God Told Me To. And I had to create what Larry called a pussy in a man's stomach.
Kind of like
Okay.
Videodrome.
Yeah, and it had to open and close and do all these things. I thought, well, this isn't the most interesting thing in the world to do, but I'll do it. Larry played very well. And he was, Larry was kind of arrogant and full of himself, but he also was funny. He had a good sense of humor, and you had to know working with him when he was putting you on and when he was deadly serious. And you had to understand that when he was deadly serious, it's because he's on set and he didn't like to screw around on set. And so if people were blundering and doing things, he would get pretty ornery, But then afterwards, he would be pleasant again because it was business. So he had that air about him. We ended up doing 5 more movies after that. He would contact me and hire me back on every film. And it's because we worked together well. And if he bit my head off and got mad on set, I let it roll off. And then afterwards at dinner, he would sort of apologize and say, you're all right. I like working with you, So we had that kind of relationship, and we stayed friends till he passed away. When he had cancer, Mary and I were going over to his house. He took us to lunch, and we'd stay in touch all these years. And we weren't supposed to know about it. I think it was the family or the wife that said, don't mention it to him. Because his plan was to keep on working till he dropped and hope that he would overcome it. Because he loved his work. He was so passionate about filmmaking. And I owe him so much because I got to work with so many great people and meet so many amazing people from Hollywood. But what we were working on towards the end, because I did Salem's Lot, Full Moon High, and a whole bunch of other stuff for him, was The Invaders. Now, he did not have the rights to the TV series, but he had the rights to do the movie. He was the creator of the Roy Thinnis Invaders back in the 60s, which was a great show about UFOs that were coming to Earth. And so he was working on a script for a film, and we were talking weekly about it, and I was fighting with him because he wanted to change the design of the spacecraft, and I said, you don't touch that thing. That's iconic. That's like changing the Enterprise, and we know what that did for J.J. Abrams. So, he said, okay, and so we were working on that, and I mean, right up to like 2 weeks before he passed, we were still having conversations about doing the movie The Invaders, because he was still in touch with Roy Thinnis, who's still with us, and he was going to be in it, and then he passed away, and of course the project went with him. But I always think of Larry very fondly. We had a good relationship. and we worked together well, and he really helped my career. He made my career really nice. I had him, I had Charlie Band, I had Roger Corman, and because of them, I got to do a lot of really neat stuff. So, and the stuff was, God, what a shoot! Yeah, we were on location near Woodstock, and I remember the
We have some stuff, merch
The
or some
room-
stuff over there.
the
we
room
do.
we were staying in had all the
Like a jar of stuff.
we had a bag full of blobs and things, and that foam we used that year had this horrible sulfur smell to it. In my room that I was staying in the whole time just stunk so bad. I'll never forget it, and it was grueling shoot. It really was.
Really?
Yeah, it was. On location with Larry Cohen, and yeah, that's where I got to meet and hang out with Paul Sorvino, another really very nice man. And, he was just this actor to me that Larry hired. He hadn't gone on to do all the things he did.
Paul Sorvino from Goodfellas?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was playing a cop in that movie, and we'd spend hours sitting in the motorhome waiting for our scenes to come up. And so Paul and we would talk all the time about family, about life, about all kinds of things. He was just really nice.
Wow.
He was really a nice guy. So that was a nice pleasure to have.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning those two films.
Yeah, I forgot about it. I don't know
Cue
how.
the Winged. Did you
I
build
worked
that
on
creature?
that. I did the baby that pops out of the egg.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my contribution. And I did some other stuff that had to do with the sacrificing the knives and the blood and all that stuff. And Randy Cook, I did the animation with Dave Allen, the stop motion puppet. I was around the whole time that was being done. So
is there any more questions regarding the industry? We have my brother over here, Alex.
Hello.
Go ahead, Alex.
When I first heard that you were coming, I went and checked out your filmography, and one stood out because it's my favorite comic book character of all time, Swamp Thing. What was your work on
Swamp
Swamp
Thing.
Thing? You did my favorite version of the '80s Swamp Thing, by the way. Like the first Swamp Thing movie, his face is way too human, and it's kind of
Right.
uncanny valley. But what you did is you captured the Bernie Wrightson, the real Swamp Thing.
well, I didn't do the Swamp Thing
Okay, well,
suit.
that movie.
Yeah.
What did you do?
No,
in that
I
movie?
did. I did the slug guy.
Oh.
And the creature with the big head and a bunch of that stuff. I didn't get to do the suit. I think Todd Masters did that, and Todd Masters came to work for me back on Mac Tonight when he had just come down from Canada. He was a very young guy. I looked at his portfolio and I said, "Jesus, this guy is incredible. He's better than me." So I gave him a job, and he was amazing. He excelled at everything he did. And so later on, when it got to that point, Todd and I sometimes were competing for work, but sometimes we shared in on it. So, and we're still friends to this day. So, he's done amazing things that you have no idea he even did, like the Queen for Contact.
Oh, wow.
First Contact Star Trek movie, which is one of my favorites of the Next Generation series. That all those Borg work and stuff, he did. He just did incredible stuff. He's worked with Doug numerous times because he knew Doug from working on Mac Tonight. So
There's an interesting connection to Mac Tonight, actually. Swamp Thing was, at the time when that movie Return of Swamp Thing came out, it was written by Alan Moore, incredibly famous comic book writer. He also did Watchmen. He acted recently in a movie called Showbits, and in it, his hair and his beard is modeled into a moon. So he kind of like is doing an homage to Mac Tonight, and everyone online has been confused as to why. But I think there's something in the answer here, maybe with that Todd fellow that you mentioned that designed the costume. I don't know.
Maybe.
There's a weird connection between Mac Tonight, Alan Moore, Swamp Thing, and your work. I don't know what it is, but I want McDonald's. Thank you.
Mac Tonight was interesting because Todd was working on that, but he worked on the movie with Steve Railsback called Mutant, also called Mutant, or the Green Mutant, or what was it? The Green. It had a really weird name, and it was about this praying mantis creature. And so he worked on that. A lot of my B pictures that I was doing He would, because he had Canadian citizenship, he could go up there. I couldn't. That's what happened to me on X-Files, too. I got hired on X-Files to do all the aliens, and I started working for them, and then Chris Carter called me one day and said, I'm really sorry, but we tried to get you up to Canada. They won't have it. If they have a makeup artist there that can do what you can do, they have to hire him. That's the law. So I got done out of X-Files, which was a bummer. Yeah, but they came back from time to time and used artwork and some of the sculptures and things I did in the background, some of the scenes. They were always really nice to me, Paul Rabwin and Chris Carter, really nice people. But so Todd worked on all that stuff, and then he went on to his own personal shop, and it just grew and grew and grew. And so Mac Tonight helped a lot of people get started.
Well, we're down to the last hour. I'm gonna
Okay.
switch it up a little bit,
Sure.
because I want to now talk, since we're in October, I want to talk a little bit about the paranormal, if that's cool with everybody. Yeah. So you've been doing a lot of work with the paranormal activity with your show, meeting a lot of people all over the world. Tell us a little bit about that, and how real is it?
It's very real, and it's a difficult subject to be involved in because you can't take it personally. As hard as it is to do, you have to realize if you have experienced something, you know it's real. Especially, if you know the difference between a little light in the sky with red and green lights on it, that's one of our aircraft. Being an aviator, I'm very familiar with aircraft, spacecraft. I'm very knowledgeable about it. And I know the difference between a hallucination and something that's actually there. So if somebody has an experience with a very large craft and the beings inside, you're going to get told that you're crazy, that you're nuts, that stuff's all BS. But those people haven't been there.
Right.
And the minute that they do get in that situation, they turn like that. And so that's the problem with the whole paranormal subject. People say you have no proof. There's no evidence. There is tons and tons of evidence. It would bury you alive if that person saying that, based on hearsay from the media or from their friend or wherever they heard it from, took the time to research it. They would realize that there is more than enough evidence to support that there are things going on, and that not only that UFOs and what they think the UFO, or the paranormal, ghosts, psychic things, telepathy, all are one, all connected. And this is something that even the people that have an interest in UFOs and these people have an interest in ghosts dig their heels in against. They don't want to accept that they're connected, but they are. Yeah. Because it all boils down to one thing, consciousness. We all have it. And it's something that you continue having after these carcasses fail to function. And that's been proven to within a shadow of a doubt scientifically as well. And yet, our scientists, many of them, the doctors, they get angry, they put their heels in, they're afraid.
I would even say, do you think that possibly it's trying to be kept under wraps? Like,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. It's like,
Sure.
for those that do know that it's real,
Yeah.
they're like, no, we don't want to let the rest of
No,
everybody
they don't
know.
want you to be awake,
Awoken.
thinking, having critical thinking, questioning their authority, questioning what they're telling you as they rewrite history over and over again about everything. But we have all known for a very, very long time that these things, especially that the indigenous people talked about, they're very real.
Yeah.
They're not fantasy or imagination. That's not to say that there aren't people who have fantasized things, and for them it's very real. But in my work, there's a consistency that just continues to blow my mind, no matter who it is I get on the show and who I talk to, because I know these people are not UFO fanatics. They don't read every book that comes out. They don't see every movie, and yet consistently they will tell you the same thing over and over again, as if every person from every point in the world and country and cultural background will tell you many of the same things over and over again exactly without any variation, meaning that there is a consistency
Yeah.
to their experience. And if you take it back before the internet, it's there too,
Right.
before people could communicate globally so easily. So, but there's also hard evidence as well. So,
Because you work with all these different folks and maybe even explore some of these paranormal spaces. What's your feel on that though? Like, is it something that something that needs healing? Do some of these ghost entities, do they want to communicate with humans, or are they just present in some level or another on this earth also?
boy, that'd take another 2 hours. But the bottom line is that so many spirits that people are communicating with, that they're aware that they're around them all the time, aren't necessarily dead.
Yeah.
And the show that on my channel that just aired is about a woman named Deborah Cobble. She's very well known for a book that she was written up about by Bud Hopkins, who's very famous. He's passed on now. Investigator of what is called by the public alien abduction. He was one of the first people to take people, put them under hypnosis consistently, and work with scientists to find out if there's really something to this, and he did. And Deborah was one of his first people. She is the most amazing person out of all the people I've worked with, and I'm good friends with Whitley Strieber, and he tells his story well, but this woman just knocks it straight out of the park.
Yeah.
She is so credible, and that show, it premiered last night, and it hasn't even been 24 hours, and it's already got thousands of views, and it's having a great effect on people because not only does she have a great story to tell, but she has evidence, hard evidence, physical evidence, eyewitnesses that were there at the time, neighbors that saw it happen. But the most incredible part of all of it is her conclusion at the end, because this happened in 1983.
Yeah.
And so she wrote another book recently that I read that's excellent, and she's come to some conclusions about this thing. And she would never, ever go back to when that experience happened and have it not take place. She feels that she's the person that she is now because of that, and that she would never want to go back, that she's awake, that she's aware of things she would never be aware of. And then she talked about having a walk, and she heard someone call her name out, and she thought it was a neighbor behind her. She turned around, there was no one there. So she said, okay, I've been through a lot. I'll play along with this. And she said, who are you? You know, he said, I can see you. For where I am, I see you as a very bright light, and your light is bright.
Yeah.
And she had this conversation, and she says, well, are you one of these gray alien things, or are you dead? And he said, oh, no, I'm very much alive. And I'm just like you. And she said, he said, you know those balls of light you see sometimes? The little blue balls of light? And they're called orbs. Lots of people are seeing them,
Yeah.
have seen them, going back thousands of years. She said, that's us.
So
And when
just
we
like,
see you, that's how you look to us.
like spirits.
Yeah, and then he didn't talk anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you really want to get a good feel for someone who's legitimate and really had this experience and has a really good perspective on it, I would watch that
Yeah.
story. It's called Beyond the Intruders, because it was turned into a two-part TV series back in the 90s that was on national television. Plus, she made the rounds on all these television programs and stuff with Bud Hopkins back then. And she's just amazing. I am so grateful that I was able to become friends with her and get her on the show because she brings such credibility to it.
So how do you think that that, like, let's just say you mentioned the aliens, you mentioned spirits or ghosts, and you say that they're interconnected, possibly interconnected. What are some perspectives on that? Consciousness, you mentioned.
It is.
mentioned
It's all about
consciousness.
consciousness. And
Okay.
right now we got people investigating UFOs. They accept it finally that they're really seeing these things. They're really here, and they're really interested in the technology and the nuts and bolts. That's boring. Really, it is.
Yeah.
And what they're not getting is that the people inside those vehicles piloting them have a technology that we're not thinking about, and it's called consciousness. They have very advanced consciousness, the same advanced consciousness we could have if we can accept who we really are and what we're capable of. When we're out of these bodies, everything changes.
Yeah.
And the beings seem to live in a perpetual state of that. They're both physical and they're expanded in their consciousness, both. And their machines, if you can call them that, are controlled by consciousness. Their thoughts produce the power necessary to make their vehicles, their crafts, travel from one place to another, just by mere thought alone. And we are told by them that we're every bit as capable. But we don't accept who we are. We don't accept that we have that type of power, and it's been kept down in us.
Some people call it out-of-body experiences.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, anybody who's had an out-of-body experience will know what that feels like, and what your perception is, your vision, you get plugged into infinite knowledge. And this happens a lot of times with people who have had near-death experiences.
I was going to mention that because like there's some when people have near-death experiences, there's some people say they see the light and they go towards the light and they're like, that's where we're going to go. But some people choose to go away from the light.
A lot of times they're told you're not done yet, you need to go back. Now, you hear this stuff all the time, but where's the proof? And I'll tell you where the proof is. All the cases I've studied and the people I know are studying this, they're in the thousands. People die on the operating table. Brain stops functioning. Heart stops. Some of them are covered over and wheeled off. They can tell you everything that happened in the OR. They can tell you names. They can describe equipment. They can even go to the waiting room where the family is and repeat everything the family was talking about at that moment. Over and over and over again, case after case after case. And when they come back, miraculously, to life, because they're told, you're not done yet. You have to go back and take care of your family. It's going to be hard. You're going to have a real hard time recovering. When they start talking about it, 9 times out of 10, the doctors get angry and say it's a bunch of nonsense and storm off. And then the nurses and the people working in the OR tell them, we hear this all the time.
Yeah.
And so this has been highly documented, and the investigators have contacted the people that were in the waiting room and got them to repeat and verify that, yeah, there's no way they could have known that we were talking about, oh my God, I forgot to feed the bird.
Mm-hmm.
Things that minuscule. They hear and see everything.
Another random thought is I've heard also the idea that sometimes the aliens have also been depicted as possibly being either angels or demons.
In my experience, they've had my best intentions and the people I know all along. And in fact, over time, evolving through this experience, they've expressed their intentions in their kindness. But other people are terrified of them, feel like they're victims. They give in. They're totally wrapped up in the fear. And I think so much of that comes from our culture, the way we're brought up and where we're told to fear things like that they're not real.
Even the fear of death.
Yeah.
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 Not being at peace with it and understanding that's part of the cycle. And as you all have said, the consciousness goes beyond the body.
How many times it's happened to me, it happened to my mom, but I'm just wondering, people in this room, do you ever remember being contacted in your sleep by someone who passed that you loved, that you were close to? and you didn't know. You might have known they were ill, but in my case, it was a young girl, and she didn't even know she was sick, and she died. And she came to me and said she had to leave, and told me I was right about certain things, and she was so excited. And the next morning when I got up, I found out she was dead. And that's happened to a lot of people I know. So is that just an imagination, just a coincidence? I mean, the way she was found is how I saw her. And I didn't find that out till later. And it shocked me because every single detail of how she appeared to me was how the paramedics found her. So again, it's like near-death experiences. If you're pulled out of your body by a spirit that's passed on to spend time with you before they leave, to share their love with you, how many times does that have to be recorded or happen before people finally admit that when our bodies cease to exist, we continue on, and we're all consciousness, and all consciousness is connected. Ghosts, aliens, all the consciousness in the universe, beyond this universe, into other dimensions, all connected. But us humans have seemed to disconnect ourselves from it.
Yeah.
We didn't listen to the indigenous people. They knew.
I hope everybody who's listening to this is soaking it in, because it's a lot to take in. I mean, we started off with a fascination with special effects, movie magic, basically creating our own kind of like dream sequences and storytelling. And now we're trying to connect it to life beyond our lives, meaning that even the filmmaking is our own books, our own Bibles of a sort, our own storytellings, our own philosophies of what life's all about. And now we're talking about it being, connecting to how all these fantasies or these fictionalized science fiction horror movies, there's some kind of heavy depth into it. And you've been discovering this your whole life,
Yeah, well, we're all artists in this room. We're all thinkers. We all have critical thinking. We notice, we observe everything around us. We look at the stars at night. That came first. Then the pursuit of our art came next, because we were fascinated with these things and we wanted to express it. So we expressed it through art. And what better way to do it than filmmaking? You can do it all kinds of ways. You can write books. You can do paintings and sculpture, and I've done it all. And I'm sure many of you have done that too. But filmmaking is just. And if you look at 2001: A Space Odyssey, we have early man struggling to survive, and this black monolith shows up, which is representative of non-human intelligence. Another spirit, aliens, whatever you want to call it.
The future.
And what it did was change who we are. So we survive and evolve. And we evolved into a race of beings that had orbiting nuclear bombs surrounding our planet, ready to drop at any time. And then we uncovered the monolith on the moon, because they knew we would be curious. They knew if we got to the moon, we'd find it. And we uncovered it, and the sunlight hit it, activated it, and they knew we'd follow that signal to Jupiter. And the next step was Dave Bowman ending up with the beings, evolving and being turned into the next step in humanity, which was this advanced human being with a big head, the Star Child.
Yeah.
And when you listen to the lore and the stories about people who have experiences with non-human intelligence, and you hear about the hybrid children that are being made, it's all in keeping with that film.
Yeah.
Because we're about to destroy ourselves. And so what I get is that humanity is being upgraded to be less aggressive, to lose the hate, to stop worshiping flags and borders and countries and come together as one being and work together to explore the universe.
Wow. Well, I think we need to do an applause for Mr. Steve Neill, y'all. Really want to thank the Mystery Shop. Really want to thank Elliot, Alex, Fusion, Vincent, the whole team. Thank you so
very
much for hosting. Mary, thank you so much for always having Steve Neill's back. Phil Taggart.
And I have her back too. We're a team. We work together. All this is happening because we work together.
And Phil, I'm gonna have you say some last words about the program over at Caps TV. Also, I'll have the folks from Church of Phil if they could plug in their project afterwards. Also, please some last words for Steve, please.
Well, actually, I teach digital production for high school students, and I'm always wondering where they're going to go. I know things are going to change because they always do. I mean, everything I learned is gone, and that's the way it is. What do you think? Where do you think kids should be studying? What should they be looking into right now to continue along into movie making or whatever they want to do?
I think the first thing they should do is check their passion, and if they're really passionate about making films, then they should put everything they got into it. And never think you can't do that. And especially today, because, if you got an iPhone, you can get DaVinci for free. If you got a basic computer, you can get Blender and all the programs I work with, and you can make a film with hardly any money, and you can get it on the internet very easily, and you can get people to start watching your art, start seeing your films, and that's a great place to start. And then you could do film festivals and all that kind of stuff. But if you have the passion, you got to do it because you love it, not because you think, well, this is going to make me rich or famous. If you're going into it for those reasons, you might succeed. I don't know, but I remember when I got into filmmaking, and I was working at the Zoetrope with Francis Coppola and George Lucas was there. I was just amazed. I didn't care about money at all. I just wanted to be there. I wanted to be around that creativity, and they allowed me to use the equipment and shoot my own film there. And I spent all my own money doing it, and it wasn't until a few years later I got to make a feature. But if you work hard and you do good work, and that passion's going to show, and maybe, just maybe, somebody you'll have their eye, and they'll ask you to do something. They'll ask you to direct a film or direct a commercial or something like. It only takes one, and if it works out well, you can make a living from it. But you can't go into it for that reason. You got to go into it for the art, to do the best work you can do, and express yourself and be real passionate about it. Because I think that stands out more than anything else. You can be very technical, be a good editor and all that kind of stuff, but I think you really need to focus on that passion. Is this what you want to do? Are you willing to sacrifice, all the normals to do something like that, So, I avoided getting a real job every chance I could get because I didn't want anything to take away from my precious time in pursuing what I wanted to do. So consequently, I basically never had the type of job where you had to go there every day and do something you didn't like.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember when I was taking a class in, I guess it would be Santa Clara, years and years ago, and it was a class on editing, and it was still reel-to-reel, 1-inch stuff. And the guy that was teaching me, he worked on the beginning of MTV, and he also worked on Night Flight. That was his editing, and he turned to us and at one point and said, if this is not the best thing that's ever happened to you, if this is not all you want to do, this is not just total fun for you, then you should get out of it and let someone in who can do it, who wants to do it.
That's really good advice, yeah.
I followed that all this time, try to. I've only had a couple of normal jobs. Didn't like them much.
No, me neither. I mean, when I was in high school, I worked at a department store for a while, and I did it long enough to buy a camera.
That's right.
And when I got that camera, it was like the most amazing thing in the world. I mean, I just sat there on my bed and in my bedroom just looking at it going, oh, this is so cool, you know, because I'm a camera whore. I mean, Mary and I have so many cameras, and I don't know if I picked that up from Kubrick or not, but he was my hero, and I knew he was a still photographer. I started with still photography because in my high school we had a lab and everything, and an incredible teacher named Ann Sweetie. I've never forgotten her kindness.
As I see the new kids coming up and what they're coming up with, good. They're gonna have to really work on their craft on the bottom level for a long time, which is great.
Yeah, but they can do it. I mean, when I was in high school, I mean, to get a Bolex 16 millimeter camera and a sound recorder and all that stuff, it cost a ton of money. And then just to get the stuff developed into a lab and get it back, and you don't know if it's going to be usable or not, and then to go through it and cut it, and then, you know, it costs a lot of money to get someone to A/B roll it for you. That's why I did my own A/B, and I sat in that clean room with the gloves on, and I did it. It was wonderful.
Yeah. And actually, what I'm teaching right now mostly is how to use your phone with the Zoom, so you can just put the audio on, so you have good audio,
Right.
and then you can edit it on a laptop, or you can edit it on your phone. You can get Blender on your phone, and these kids. I have kids in there that actually play with Blender when they're bored.
Yeah.
I thought, I want those kids.
Yeah.
Send them here.
Yeah. What gets me is that the iPhone will actually do depth of field,
Yeah.
Yeah, it will.
whereas a news camera won't. You know,
No, that's
kind of strange. Yeah. I
gonna
call them news camera. The ones with the fixed lenses. We have one, a Panasonic 4K.
yeah.
It's nice, but you can't get that
It's
lovely depth of field.
I think it's going to change. Everything's going to change again, and what they do with, I think what you're doing and that is it's going to stick around. I mean, I love the physical stuff is just so important.
Oh yeah, it is. And there's plenty of young directors that know that
Yeah.
and work with full-size models and forced perspective. Because if you can get it in the camera, it's always better, to me.
Right.
I'm waiting for it. Some knucklehead to sit there and and hopefully it gets exactly the way you want when you can look to the camera and say, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
So practical is still very important.
I learned how to use CMX, which puts me way long time ago, and it was still with film. And I remember when I went to NAB, and I saw that they had Final Cut, and Final Cut had software, and so the standalone stuff I just saw it fall aside. As soon as I saw that, I knew, oh, it's all going to be software now, and it turned out being that. You can put it in your in whatever computer you have. The ones that didn't, well, they went away.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of them went
A
away.
lot of them dug their heels in and didn't want to do CGI when I started in the 90s because, it became the new hot thing and everybody wanted to use it, all the directors and the producers and stuff. We don't have to have some practical effects guy on set. We can get the monster to run across, and do all these things. And so many of the people doing the work I did as practical makeup effects abandoned it and would say, I like doing that digital stuff, I did. They won.
Yeah,
I was working in Lightwave.
Self-taught. Lightwave? Yeah. Stuff changes. You can try it. Everyone's against AI.
I'm not real happy with it.
I'm not happy with it, but I know I have to adjust to it. I got to make sure the kids know what it is.
I don't have to adjust to it. I just keep doing things my way.
Well, you're at the point where you can do that.
Yeah, but I keep being told, you ought to, use that. Why would you want to go through all that work to hand animate characters? Well, I don't have to hand animate them. I use motion capture, and I can get it right off my phone. And if I want a facial expression, I turn the phone on myself, and I get that, and I can have it talk, and do whatever I want. But I'm still building the sets. I'm still, doing hand animations sometimes, readjusting the animations and stuff. But it's much more hands-on creativeness than just telling the machine what I want. And when I tried using AI, I couldn't get exactly what I wanted. But when I'm working with CGI, I get exactly what I want. I have total control. If I don't like the lighting, I can change it. It's just like being on a soundstage. I have total control. And I like that, and I don't want to give that up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun to watch,
Yeah.
the whole thing.
But you need to watch my other channel, my channel on YouTube, because that's where all the films are going on.
I like to look that,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
And maybe even, what about your paranormal show? Would that be something?
Well, that's where they are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
he does
because
a paranormal show also.
I interview people who have experiences with the phenomenon, mostly related to close encounters witnesses, as I call them, that have had real up close and personal encounters with UFOs and beings, as I have all my life. And Mary and I were one of the first people to approach the subject honestly and allow people who are willing to talk about it, because 90% of them are not. They don't want to be known, or they have nothing to gain. They're not trying to
Right.
sell a book or any of that stuff. But we're getting them to come onto camera and tell their story. And what I'm doing is, as they're telling their story, and it's not an interview, they're literally sitting in front of the camera, lit, and telling their story right to camera. And what I do is, as they're talking about it, I recreate it using Blender and Unreal. And I work with them very closely, so I get the craft to look correct, the beings to look correct. And so the channel in the last 2 years has gotten over 1.5 million views,
Wow.
and it's accelerating every day. And it takes a couple of years as a YouTube creator you have to be consistent. And I owe all that to Mary. She's worked so hard on the channel, learning how to make it a success, while I just go off into my creative madness and make it happen. She knows how to take the product and get it to be seen. And we're not doing it for money, although we are starting to get revenue. But it's attracted people from the phenomenon because they feel comfortable with us. They know we're not exploiting them. We're not taking the highlights out of their experience and turning into a horror film, which is what 98% of big media does. So
Yeah.
it's really been something.
And
to
those
watch.
are all local stories?
No,
Okay.
all over the world. Because if
Okay.
we can't go to them, or they can't come to the studio to go in front of a camera, then I will use StreamYard, and I get them to light themselves as best they can, use the best camera that they've got, and use StreamYard and tell the story that way. And then we have another series that's called In Conversation With, where I interview people who have these experiences, and we have a conversation. And I do the same thing with that too. If they describe something, I show it. But this is my talking to them and them talking to me, and that's become pretty successful too.
Yeah, that's great stuff. It really
Yeah.
is, and I appreciate listening to you. I really do. I've seen your name around for a while, and I've kind of watched what you've been doing, and finally get a chance to listen to you. Okay.
Thank you.
And we have two of the folks from the production. Derwin. We have the director, writer and director. We're gonna put him on the spot, cause heck, we wanna make sure he promotes his project, Church of Phil, and we have one of the actors here also, Patrick.
Church of Hill?
Of Phil.
Phil.
That's the character's name.
Okay.
It's about a theater maintenance guy who accidentally creates a cult. It's a dark comedy horror. We only did physical special effects. We did like little CGI to like sweeten some of the effects, like some of the
It's good
effects.
for that.
Yeah, right. Some of them misfired, and we kind of had to do some blood effects with CG, but we mostly did all physical effects. And Carl actually helped out with that too.
Oh,
so-
cool.
Carl Soto.
Yeah.
Carl Soto, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. We're going to be screening next Sunday at Central Coast Film Festival at the Edwards in Camarillo
Nice.
at 10 a.m.
Bless you.
We're also going to be screening at Happy Frights Film Festival in Fillmore
Nice.
the weekend after that.
There's a lot of film
A
festivals.
lot of
around
film
here.
festivals. That's a horror film festival, and they're screening Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Hell
and,
yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 there as
Kyoto
well.
Brothers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then that same weekend, it's Church of Phil screening at Scarefest in Kentucky.
Nice.
So-
Scarefest, huh?
So a lot of cool things going on for it. It's a feature film, so
It's feature length.
feature length.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you. Shot
shot locally.
locally, Ventura County, Camarillo, Thousand Oaks. Yeah, around this area.
And
Some in
so,
Oxnard actually too. Yeah.
what are you hoping for the final output? Who to get it out there to
Yeah,
get?
just some sort of level of distribution.
Yeah.
At Happy Fright, there's a Screambox is having a block there, so we're hoping maybe we can talk to the folks at Screambox and also Anchor Bay. I think Anchor Bay got bought by Lionsgate, but I'm not sure what's going on with that. But like they're a distribution company, so.
Well, see,
we can
there it
talk-
is, that you have that passion. You love doing this stuff. You made a film. You took a risk.
Right.
You didn't care. You took a risk. You just wanted to make that film.
Exactly.
And now, the film is probably going to be very well received, judging by what I've heard. And like I said, somebody,
we were at
may
CME.
see it and say, hey,
We were at CME Film Fest. I wanted to see your film, but I think it was like the same time as like the agent from CAA was talking. I really wanted to talk with him, but
right.
So
Yeah, they had it at a weird time. You probably could have heard it like 3 theaters away. It was so loud. I mean, it's unbelievable. The mix on that was really intense. It was like 16 tracks.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it's online.
Oh, okay. Cool.
You just watch it on your home theater.
Oh, great.
Turn it up real loud.
Sweet.
Is it on your YouTube page?
It's on the Breaking the Silence. Mary has cards, and I think it actually has the correct address on it. And because there's a lot of Breaking the Silences on YouTube, but if you when in doubt, Breaking the Silence, UFOs, if you just put like that in, or aliens, that's search engine will pop up the right one. But Mary's got cards. It's called The Keep, and that's the one that they screened.
That's awesome.
So.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
It's about 20 minutes long, and I just did it stream of consciousness, no script, nothing.
That's
I just wanted to
awesome.
see if I could do it.
Right.
And I said, well, I got this great lighthouse, CGI lighthouse
Oh, cool.
set, and island and all that stuff. We'll start with that. What could happen there? Okay, and I thought about it, and of course, aliens come, and it's. But the ending's fun because so many people have a different idea of what the ending means.
That's always
And that's
fun.
in the spirit of
Yeah.
my Kubrick influence, So,
That's awesome. Any questions, Pat?
Patrick.
Anything to add with?
Question, yeah. You've been speaking so much about the paranormal, and having worked on Ghostbusters, have you and Dan Aykroyd been able to commiserate on the subject at all?
no, because
Good question.
see, that was 1984. Communion hadn't come out yet, and
Even since then?
no, not since then. We never did. We talked, but we didn't talk about that stuff. I didn't even know he was into that stuff
Right,
at the time.
right.
I'd been into all my life, but I didn't know he was, and I'm sure we would have had a fun time talking about that stuff. He was really nice. He was so approachable. Just a regular guy, But I'll always know him from looks at books.
We're gonna have Mary say a couple of words. That you could just mention. You're not on camera. You could just mention a little commentary. It'd be great to hear from you. We know that you basically have been in the background a lot, helping with Steve Neill and his productions and so many different ways. So we just want to give you a moment to say a couple of words.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like the manager, but
Yeah.
I've been on film, some of our films, and just been on top of it. Like every day, we're taking care of our creator studio on our YouTube channel, Breaking the Silence. And it's been fun, and we have, for the people that are followers of our channel, we have Zoom meetings, we have community chat on YouTube, And we've just been very active with that right now.
Great.
And, looking forward to doing more movies because it's a lot of work, but it is a passion of ours.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
No, and we want to thank you also because everybody behind the scenes is sometimes even more important than the people in front of the scenes. So and they
That's
don't get enough
true.
credit. So I just wanted to
That's-
acknowledge you like that. Okay.
Thank
That's
you very
certainly
much.
true. And she created Breaking the Silence. It was her idea. And I was thinking about building some model or something. And she said, we just watched Steven Spielberg's Encounters, which is a 4-part series on Netflix. It was very well done. I know that Steven has a real passion for the subject and he treats it fairly. And we watched that, and Mary got the idea. She said, we got all this equipment, film equipment and stuff, and it's all professional, and we could do a series ourselves where we allow people to talk about their experience and not be judgmental and let them honestly tell their stories. And it was a great idea, and I said, okay. And the rest is history. But Mary started it. It was her idea. I would have been thinking about what's the next model airplane I'm going to build. So,
No, yeah, we need those producers to put us in a straight lane. 'Cause we'll be all over the place.
That's correct. No, it would never have happened without her. So,
Well, heck, we're getting close to the end. Let us know how the public could support you in all your different ways. You want us to go to your website, watch more of your show.
Yeah,
give you $1 million. What do you What do you need, Steve? Talk to me.
visibility is a good thing because when you have visibility, then you meet all kinds of amazing people and opportunities turn up. Hopefully, to work seriously within the study of this and bringing people's testimony that this has happened to them to the public, so the public's more comfortable with it. So exposure, getting visibility is probably the most important thing. And, again, our YouTube channel, which is just really growing, is Breaking the Silence. And we also have a Substack account for Breaking the Silence. We have a website for Breaking the Silence, Breaking the Silence Project. What am I leaving out? Well, yes, I have I have had a WordPress site since like 2004 that I have kept up all this time. What is it? It's Steve Neill's art blog, I think, or something like that. But if you just type into Google Steve Neill art blog, it'll come right up. It's been on so long that it right to the top. It has all kinds of pictures of my history from working on the set, pictures I took on all the sets I worked on, and pictures of me on Ghostbusters and my artwork, and a lot of my films are listed there. So that site's a great place to catch up on. But what I'm really hoping for is that what we're doing with Breaking the Silence grows enough that we get the kind of support to allow us to travel a bit and take our equipment on location and not that the production quality isn't good. It is very good on the show, but it would be great to be able to have the ability to do more.
Right.
And that would require a budget, but I will never accept money from someone that isn't on the same page with us.
That's right.
We've turned down advertisers because we didn't like what we'd be advertising, and we're really not about that. So
Right.
So exposure. Reaching more people.
Yes.
That's how you can help support.
And definitely, I think the exposure part is something that the mystery shop is constantly trying to get people to be aware of all the great things that are happening here, from the comic book area to the games that they play. In fact, Alex, come over here and just give us a little bit of what are some of the things that are happening here. You're also a rental space. You also mentioned that you guys are looking for more acts. Different kinds of acts. You want to plug that in for a minute,
Yeah.
buddy?
The Mystery Shop is a comic store, hobby store, vinyl store, third space. We screen movies. We host Q&A sessions. We host live music, open mics. We have all sorts of stuff, that art shows, vending events, all sorts of stuff that we do out down here at the Mystery Shop in Oxnard, California. Anybody interested in doing anything at the Mystery Shop, contact us. We'll be happy to screen anything that you guys are working on. If you're in a band, hit us up. And yeah, we've been here for a year and 3 months now. It's been an amazing year. We just celebrated our 1 year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
4 year, it's a 4-day festival. It was quite the undertaking. But yeah, thank you so much for coming. It's an honor to
You're
have
very
people
welcome.
for people who have worked in the industry. It's invaluable, especially now with AI. Someone who has worked on practical effects, it's an invaluable source of inspiration. I'm incredibly inspired right now. So
Oh, that's good to hear.
yeah, very, very inspired. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. And once again, thanks to Fusion, who is controlling the live feed of this production. We really want to thank everybody who tuned in. I hope it was worth your time. We went over a lot of subject matter.
Yeah.
For a moment, it was the Church of Steve Niell. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.